Hello, just like to check in to talk about Theresa May and her last minute famous retreat. It is heading towards, I was only a child in the 70s, but it's pretty much heading towards the same as we had back then. I think she fails to listen. You have to admire her backbone. She smacks of Thatcher, really, in that she carries on regardless. Doesn't listen to her own people. She's gone to the EU. She hasn't been tough enough. She hasn't got the best deal for our fishermen. She hasn't got the best deal for our farmers. She hasn't got the best deal for her people. And she's trying to sell this by the back door. I'm not sure that many of us will actually appreciate the fact that we were taken into a vote that said leave or stay. It was never going to be that simple. Ever going to be that simple. You cannot take 40 years of history and just have a yes or no question. That in itself, Cameron and Osborne treated like, I don't know, like the entire UK was idiots. To my mind, the question that should have been asked in 2016 was, will you, the UK electorate, give us a mandate to negotiate with the EU with the possibility of leaving, yes or no? That is what a true referendum is. Then the negotiations would have started if the vote was yes, okay, we give you a mandate. I don't think we would have been any further on now, but it wouldn't have been a case of leave or stay and so divided. What we're left with now is complete conflict, where there's no midpoint to start from, nothing at all. And if the vote had been on the question, can we please have permission to negotiate with the European Union on the possibility of leaving, and what would this entail, I think we wouldn't be in this mess right now. We wouldn't be facing the fear that other countries are facing now, because they're in fear. The whole process has been about Project Fear and keeping the EU and limiting trade with the rest of the world. And this isn't the way forward, in my mind. Everyone's entitled to their opinion, and that is just my opinion. Now we're in a situation where even our own Prime Minister is running for the hills, avoiding the vote. Not many people can do that, avoid the situation that the government puts us in. Not many of us can do that. We have to turn up. We have to show what we're made of, a certain time, certain day, or else. And it's kind of ironic that Theresa May seems it's okay to put that date off. She took this on when Cameron called the referendum. I don't know if she just wanted the power or what, but she clearly doesn't listen. And she knows she's going to lose. And it's just going to go on and on and on as far as I'm concerned. But one thing she probably is aware of, and hence the delay, is that there are so many others that are willing to take her place. And you can see them all lining up. I think Boris is running a really long road campaign at the moment. He disappeared for a while. He's had a decent haircut now. His sister was in Big Brother. His father was in Celebrity. You know, I'm a celebrity, get me out of here. It's all a campaign to make you like the Johnsons. His brother even resigned, even though they're on separate camps. So it's hard to believe who's who and who's telling the truth right now. I just realised there's a penguin over my shoulder. I did love Pingu, by the way. He took more sense than the present government ever will. I don't know where this is heading, to be fair. Not only this video, but I just cannot believe the situation we are in when the people that are in power can't even construct a simple question of, and this goes back to Cameron and Osborne, a simple question of, give us the mandate to negotiate coming out of the EU, yes or no? It should never have been, shall we leave the EU or not, yes or no? Should have never been that way. You cannot undo that many rules, that many laws, and expect it to be easy. But the deal that she's come back with is, to my mind, completely idiotic. And she's come back, as I've said, with this deal where she's been harsh on her own people. Very harsh on her own people. And that is something that is highly questionable. When she hasn't done it in the EU for her country, she's bowed to the EU and then come back and said, I can control my people. Well, no, actually, you can't, Theresa. You really can't. You cannot push this any further. You think you can, but you can't. Because you've got to make a decision. You cannot keep backtracking on your own people and not have the front, the compassion for your own people to deal with the EU. And I think there's a deep message there for us all, really. In my life experience, I've probably done more for others and not enough for myself. And that's about to change. But what politicians fail to realise is that they are there to serve the people. That is why they're elected. And if they decide to just do things to feather their own nest or get in the top position and wield power over people, then they come out with the most idiotic questions, like Cameron and Osborne did with the referendum. Do you want to stay in the EU or don't you? Yes or no? It was never that simple. Never that simple. And I think they got a bit complacent. The old boys club. Oh, Theresa May said she was going to get rid of the old boys club. I think she's rather joined it on a large scale rather than look after her own people. The people that she should be caring for are losing respect for her, are losing their absolute compassion for being a Brit, to be honest. And although we'd never go out like France does and riot, well, hopefully we won't, because there's other ways of going around it, but I think she needs to listen, and I think there comes a time when her government needs to realise that the laws that were brought in by the Labour Party, I'll give you an example. The new benefit system on ESA, they've totally taken that, and they've totally twisted it on its head, underpaid people, treated people wrongly. People have even committed suicide over it, and I think that was the starting point of where they don't listen, and they're still not listening about their own people. They say unemployment's lower than ever now. Best it's been for 10 years. Well, I would question that, because a lot of the jobs that have been provided or made or created are zero contract hours. Zero contract hours. No offer of true income. So people might be called up and, yep, come in today, and then they might not be needed for another 2 weeks, 3 weeks. People can't live like that. They have bills to pay. They have families to look after. They have kids to feed. Come on, Theresa. Sort out your own people. So I don't believe that unemployment is as low as you say it is. It's actually quite high when you take into account the crappy jobs that are out there that people can just ring up and say, oh, we need you today. That isn't living. That isn't living. That isn't raising the vibration of the planet either. It's just keeping people small and tiny and not giving them a voice. And people need a voice. People have a right to have a voice, and they have a right to have their say. And it doesn't only come down to the ballot box, because the manifesto that you created, Theresa, the manifesto, when you didn't quite get your majority, you've actually backtracked and U-turned on everything that you ever said. You said you'd be here to create a better country and better living situations for all working families. Well, that's not happened, has it? And you're so focused on the EU and getting your deal through that you're forgetting that there are real families out there struggling to make ends meet, to look after the kids. People like me, for instance, who's struggling to look after an elderly parent whilst being ill myself. That's just an example. And I would hope that a lot of others will see this and resonate with it or not. But please leave a comment, because I think at the end of the day, you need to start listening, Theresa May, because there are a lot of people out there that really, really don't like the way you've twisted things and turned things to make the glove fit for yourself and for many others in your party, sat on your front benches, that have actually, right now, got a knife in your back, ready to take your position. You've a lot to think about, and I appreciate that. But then you haven't got to think about how you're going to feed your children, or how you're going to pay your bills, or how you're going to look after an elderly parent. You've no idea about that, have you? You don't even know what the inside of your local supermarket looks like, do you? I shall leave you with that thought. Everyday things matter, Theresa May. Everyday things. And I think that you've become arrogant. Yeah, you have become arrogant. You're not listening. You're not listening to the people. And if you only fought the EU in the last 2 years, like you're fighting your own people now, even people on your front benches, then you would have got a lot further on with it. But it comes back to Cameron at the end of the day, and the question that was asked. That in itself was treating the British public like idiots, and it's time the government realised that the British public are not idiots. They're not idiots. They're hard-working people who just want to live a comfortable life, be able to pay their bills and put food on the table. That's as simple as that. Right, thank you for listening. Please like, share and subscribe if you wish. And I hope Theresa May gets to see this soon. Don't know when you're going to do the next vote, Theresa. The next vote? Haven't had the first one yet, have you, love? Anyway, God bless you all. Much love and light. Namaste.